And due to contractual obligations and to shield our airwaves and corporate licensees from any semblance of liability, responsibility, and gullibility, we must tell you the views represented on this show are not necessarily those of this station or its management. This radio show contains differing points of view on current political topics, and due to the nature of its contents, it should be heard by everyone. Thank you for listening. 3, 2, 1. Now live from the Devil Radio Studios in Madison, Wisconsin, where the political party is just beginning. Welcome to the Devil's Advocate Show. Friends proving it's never personal, only politics.
Please allow me to introduce myself.
Here is your host, Mike Crute.
Welcome back to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show, Hour 2, the Happier Happy Hour. Roll it into it, Dom. And all the whiny whinertons on the Facebook Live. We weren't actually streaming sound there in hour number 1, but if you like us, it's a visual product, and Facebook is your preferred medium. We're there. We're on the YouTube live streams. We're on, Periscope, Twitter. We're worldwide, baby. I prefer when you listen on the Devil Radio app, but, that's just a selfish...
We'll take what we can get.
Welcome to our listeners, AM 950 Minneapolis, the Happier Happy Hours. Right now, you're listening to the Devil's Advocates. Join us at 844-967-2789. But gentlemen, Evan, lightly screening the calls here in the world headquarters, Madison, Wisconsin. But Evan, going to need your help because I want to play some sound of U.S. Senator Ron Johnson.
Do we have to?
We do. And not only do we have
broccoli people.
Not only do we have to play the sound of Ron Johnson, but I got to mention the Twinkies beat the Brewers today 4-1. Hader got lit up by a 3-run homer in the ninth.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Come on, Josh.
So the Minneapolis fans, tuning in post-game, they should be happy to join us, Tom. They can rub it in a bit at 844-967-2789. But here is the guy you stuck us with, Ron Johnson of Minnesota, representing the state of Wisconsin in the U.S. Senate. He went on Brian Kilmeade's show. Brian Kilmeade, Foxy News host, also Shocker Dom's got a righty-whitey talk show. And your buddy, Rojo, likes to go on talk shows. Ron Johnson loves him some righty-whitey talk shows. Or any sort of talk shows. Apparently, he came on here like 25 times. Right. But played for the people. Here's a little appearance. And the topic was this story that had been circulating of a 10-year-old Ohio girl who had been raped, impregnated, and because of the timing, apparently Ohio now has a fetal heartbeat anti-abortion law in place. So effectively, 6 weeks, something like that. If there's any sort of discerned cardiac activity with the fetal cells, it's a person in Ohio.
Well, I think I want to be clear, though, Crudy. I know we're going to get to the 10-year-old girl who was raped and had to go across state lines to get an abortion. But I think this particular conversation between Wisconsin Senator Ron Johnson and Fox News radio host Brian Kilmeade was about a response to Senate testimony about transgendered men getting pregnant.
Oh, I apologize. That is true. There's a woman that testified, Josh Hawley, the senator, the guy that encouraged January 6th protesters, let's call him, with a raised fist. Holly was there in solidarity with all the insurrectionists coming to hang Mike Pence that day. Why he doesn't receive more heat for that, why it's all Rojo catching the heat, and maybe Ted Cruz, but I hope Holly gets his day in the J6 hearings. But you're right. You're absolutely right. Forgive me for not setting the stage properly. So Kilmeade played this woman that testified and said effectively that Josh Hawley was being transphobic in the line of questioning. And Holly was, saying effectively, I heard Holly over on Buck and the other righty-whitey Clay, Buck and Clay. Well, Holly was out defending himself and fundraising, of course, because that's what they do.
Of course.
They go start a culture war. They do it publicly. They brag about it, and they make themselves the victim, and they fundraise. So, setting the stage, they played the clip, Kilmeade did, for Rojo, and thanks for, correcting me on the radio. You know how I love it.
Come on, man.
But
you got to be right about it.
It had to be right.
That's right.
So anyways, here's Rojo talking about the women's role. And you're going to want to listen closely. Play it for
Folks
the
who can have
people.
pregnancies?
Do you believe that men can get pregnant?
I don't think women can
So
get
you are
pregnant.
denying that trans people what this thing?
And that leads to violence?
That was the clip.
Weirdly,
the
I mean,
prior
I-
clip.
My jaw was on the ground when I watched this.
Brian, it's insane.
Here's Rojo.
I mean, it's just insane. I mean, Democrats, as I said it before, are so detached from reality and the truth, and they're trying to force those types of falsehoods on the rest of us, like, to normalize it all. It's like, no, we should all believe that men can get pregnant too. I mean, they can't. I mean, women get pregnant, and God bless them for getting pregnant. We need to populate our earth. But no, Democrats, again, this is just insane, but country.
And just to define it, what the Supreme Court said is figure it out in your state. Just figure it out on your own. Where's Wisconsin stand now? They have a Democratic governor. And
It's
we know
messy,
that
isn't
in
it,
Virginia,
Senator?
for example, a pro-life governor, Youngkin, he says, my feeling is Virginia's at 15 weeks. And I think that's what he's going to push to support. What about you, Senator Johnson? What would you be, what do you think, where's Wisconsin going to fall?
It's kind of hard to predict. I'm kind of out of it. I'll have a vote along with other citizens of Wisconsin. I'm fully supportive of what the Supreme Court did. I obviously confirmed the justices that handed down that correct decision to turn this 50-year debate. It didn't solve anything. It just exacerbated the divide in this country.
Well, anyway, so Rojo's down with the overturning of Roe v. Wade. What he fails to acknowledge is abortion is now illegal in the state of Wisconsin. His prior statements were effectively, well, it's going to get messy, but you get in your car, you drive to Illinois. We heard during the top of the hour news hits, if you're listening here locally in Wisconsin, we find out that actually Wisconsin abortion providers are off buying up real estate to establish clinics across the Illinois border. So I guess there was some predictive truth. And Ron also said it's going to be messy for a while. Yeah, because women just lost their rights here in the state of Wisconsin, Ron. And you're all down for that, as you've just acknowledged on Brian Kilmeade's show. But before that, Tom, what was the thing that Ron said before that? Women are here, God bless them, to populate our earth. Populate our earth.
Populate the earth. So, I mean, there's a lot to unpack here. And I want to address, perhaps briefly, before we get to some phone calls at 844-967-2789, the transgendered man conversation. I also did see that clip on Twitter and listened to it. I believe it was some professor very articulately pushing back on Josh Hawley. And because Josh Hawley doesn't like the thought of a transgendered man, a man who was assigned a female at birth, right? But can still get pregnant in certain circumstances, and that you would have a case where a man gets pregnant. And you hear Josh Hawley, and we don't have the clip, but I would suggest people go and find it, just beside himself when he's getting pushback from this lady testifying, and essentially saying that if you do not accept the fact that there are trans men out there, that denial of their existence is what, perpetuation causes violence. Hell, what do you say? I believe some statistics like 1 in 5 attempt suicide. I mean, these are difficult situations. And we just heard Righty Talk Radio and U.S. Senator Ron Johnson lamenting the fact that we're quote unquote normalizing this. Normalizing it. And I just, are you kidding me? Yes, that's exactly what we should be doing, is normalizing it. Because what is it to you, Ron Johnson? Was it to you, Kilmeade, if someone born, quote unquote, gendered a woman and is now a trans man? How does that affect you in one single iota, one way whatsoever? It doesn't. We have to normalize it. That's the entire point. Like interracial marriage. Oh my God, I can't believe men and women getting married, but they're different races. Or gay marriage. Oh goodness, two members of the same sex getting married. Oh, beside themselves. If you don't like transgendered people, don't be one. If you don't like interracial marriage, don't be in one. If you don't like gay marriage, don't get one. Well, what is it about everybody else that has to accept you, Ron Johnson, you, Brian Kilmeade's perception of what you think the world should be like?
Okay. Now you put me in a position where I've got to defend Josh Hawley and Ron Johnson. And I'm going to do so, but only in a very limited way. Only in the vocabulary of saying that a transgender man, a woman that transitioned into a man, is then impregnated, so a man is pregnant. Well, biologically, we understand that men are not impregnated. You know what I mean? You can't be impregnated, Tom. Many have tried. It's never worked. Is
a transgendered man a man? That's what we're getting down to, and I'll be very careful because this is.
But
the point.
if that is the case biologically, if you have transitioned fully into another gender, well, then are you capable of also being impregnated and making others acknowledge the fact that as a man you are pregnant? You know, I can see the pushback on the vocabulary. Now, the underlying sentiment, which is this is not acceptable, you can't transition in life. That part I understand, man. Republicans cross that line far too far. You know what I mean? You don't have to understand it. You don't even have to accept it. You just can't be outright homophobic about it.
Transphobic, yes.
You know what I mean? Whatever you practice in your own home is fine. But part of society are transitioning. And there's more and more people out there. And we see them. And some are...
But it's always been like that. That's my thing. There's always been gay people. There's always been trans people. You know, and they made the same arguments about interracial marriage and gay marriage. Oh, it's just not right, or this or that. You know, how could you possibly have two different races marrying each other? It's against the Bible. And so that marriage is not valid. It's not under law.
Let me try to use a different context, because it's really about the vocabulary. I take the issue. A man cannot get pregnant by definition. I can understand their argument about
can get pregnant. Here's the deal: if a transgender man is considered a man, then yes, a man can get pregnant. That's the answer. That's the answer. And
but do I have to accept the vocabulary or be transphobic? Because that's oxymoronic to say an impregnated man. You need 3 hyphens and an asterisk to fully explain the context of that, right? Well, are we really making situations in life? Do we need to accommodate this circumstance? Is this so common? Are we having transgendered people who were females that became males getting pregnant?
It's less about the transgendered man, I'll just call him a man, getting pregnant and having an abortion than it is about the acceptance that a transgendered man is a man.
Fair enough. That also gets pregnant, which you can understand where that would confuse people.
Really? If you understand the concept of transgendered man, it was no confusion whatsoever.
But there's certainly argument to be had. Yeah. Come back. We'll argue. More devils.
Hi, we're the Goo Goo Dolls. We're fortunate that our daughters have what they need to grow and learn. But that isn't the case for nearly 13 million kids in the U.S. that struggle with hunger.
Childhood hunger is a heartbreaking reality that Feeding America is working to change. Each year, the Feeding America network of food banks rescues billions of pounds of good food that would have gone to waste and provides it to families and children in need.
You can help kids in need in your community by visiting feedingamerica.org.
Brought to you by Feeding America and the Ad Council.
President Trump lost the election. Joe Biden won the election.
Collectively, Republicans got 1.661 million votes. 51,000 more votes than Trump got.
He exhausted his cases. He exhausted the court challenges.
All the Republicans voted for Trump the way they voted for the assembly candidacy. He would have won.
It was not rigged. It was not stolen. Donald Trump lost the election. Joe Biden won the election. It's really clear.
This message was paid for by the People for People Corporation. Donate online at p4ppc.org.
My fine guest, Maggie Dawn, attorney at law. I thought that the laws of the United States were supposed to evolve with societal norms. The vast majority of Americans, 70% approximately, believe that Roe v. Wade should be the law of the land. So that seems exactly contrary to the way the courts are supposed to evolve with our nation.
I'll just say this. The guy in Colorado can't be forced to make a gay wedding cake, but I can be forced to make a baby. I don't know about you, but that makes no damn sense to me.
Follow the Devil's Advocates on Facebook and Twitter.
You took the first step and quit smoking, but even former smokers may still be at risk for lung cancer. That's why SaveByTheScan.org wants you to know about a new low-dose CT scan that can detect lung cancer early. It takes only 60 seconds and could save your life. You took the first step, now take the next. Visit SaveByTheScan.org for a simple quiz to see if you're eligible and talk to your doctor about screening. SaveByTheScan.org is brought to you by the American Lung Association's Lung Force Initiative and the Ad Council.
come on, man. And with the local DBC news, LL Cool J with the triumphant comeback.
60% of the time, they're right every time. The Devil's Advocates.
And we are back. Thank you for listening to the Devil's Advocates radio show. Phone lines open, going to them shortly at 844-967-2789.
Dominic, I just have to make a short statement. As the antagonist of this argument, there is a thought out there that perhaps the Democrats, the left wing of the party, get a little too woke sometimes. And they push thoughts, they push people beyond their ability to be exposed over the course of time. You know, old white guys, they move glacially, right? But you can move them. People become more compassionate, they become more empathetic when you know people that are gay and are married, and suddenly it doesn't seem so foreign to you, right? We've seen the entire country's attitudes change, mostly, but it took time, and I realized some of those things were a threat. But what I would say is the vocabulary and the fact that we must accept the pronouns he, she, it, them, their, whatever. I mean, I can't keep track. I'm just going to be honest. If someone brought to my attention, hey, I want to be addressed as this, I'd endeavor to try and address them as that. But I don't understand the necessity of giving me pronouns. Know what I mean? When I was growing up, it was
okay,
yes, sir, yes.
Let me ask you a question.
And maybe it's because I grew up with Southern parents. But it was yes, sir, yes, ma'am. You know what I mean? And I remember I went to a COVID. I got my nose, whatever, drive through COVID. And the person, and I don't know if it was a he, a she, a transitioning person. It was someone wearing a mask, and I could barely tell. You know, it was Pat. This wasn't clear. And I said, yes, ma'am. You know, pull up there. Yes, ma'am. And the person rolled their eyes back. And I wasn't sure if it was because I called them ma'am, or because they perceived themselves somehow to be not a ma'am, or, you know, it just came off as patronizing. I have no idea. I just pulled forward and I felt a little guilty, and I'm thinking, I was trying to be polite. And I'm not an old fogey to the fact, you know, love is love, man.
Yeah,
Maybe I'm being... Okay, I speak for the old fogies when I say, this world moves fast and you kids get off my grass.
It is, man. It is. I remember probably 20, 30 years ago.
But if you can't keep up with that, you know what I mean? Like,
listen, here's very specific. You mentioned if you know someone who's gay and they're married, becomes less of an issue for you. Yes. So yes, the experiences matter, right? If you knew someone was a trans man and they wanted you to refer to them as a man, would you do it?
Yes. Yeah, I would.
Why?
Because I try to be polite. I mean, hell, I even call T-Bone, right? I mean, PT, I guess. You try to call people what they want to be called. Like,
it's very simple. That's great. That's a very simple and logical answer. So who cares, man? That's the point. It is just because, and to think that, you know, trans folks are just all of a sudden appeared because the Democratic Party got woke 3 years ago is a ridiculous assumption. Come on, man. You think that this has not happened throughout history, just like every other, you know, classification of human beings ever, that this is somehow brand new? And yes, the yes ma'am and the yes sirs, that is a habit. Remember, they used to call black men boys. That's just how they used to do it, right? That was a tradition. They did it historically. That's how we did it. That's not a.
But that wasn't.
That may be how it was. But now it's about how do you want it to be?
Okay,
how should it be?
Okay, fair enough. I also served in the military, and it's yes ma'am, yes sir. It wasn't yes boy. And I guarantee that boy
you're in the military,
never
man. When you're not in the military, that's fine. But you're not in the military.
But there's different. When I call someone sir, I call Ron Johnson sir when he used to come in the studio. We always knew the dagger was out when I either called him senator or sir, because I'd show respect right before I jam him right between the shoulders.
It's only respect if someone interprets it as respect.
Did Ron think I was being respectful right before?
Probably not. But you give him the hint that the hammer was coming. But you understand what I'm saying? Just because you were taught that in the military and it became a habit for you, doesn't mean when you say it to people that they want to hear it, that they appreciate it, or that they respect it or see it as a sign of graciousness. I mean, so what you have to do, what we all have to do, is contemplate that internally and understand that maybe how
is that
our
a microaggression,
how
Don?
we grew up is not exactly how the world is.
Okay, but that is the way my world is. You know what I mean? You talk about it all the time. The only one that ever beats all of my requirements is me. Well, that's my world. So what you're telling people is you've now got to change because the world has changed, right? Well, the world didn't change. We're just being exposed to broader notions.
Sure, you can continue to deny that trans people exist. You continue to deny that women should have the right to have an abortion. You can continue to deny that gay people should have the same rights to marriage as everybody else. That's historical. That's factual. You want to live in that world, man? Knock yourself out. I am choosing to not live in that world because I know people who are trans. I know people who are gay and married, and I appreciate them and I love them, and I think that that's okay, and I accept them. And if you do not accept them, you know the abuse
it's
that
not
these
the
people
accepting
get.
of the people, it's the accepting of the pronouns and the vocabulary. You know what I mean? It's I got to learn a whole new vocabulary. I can barely say people's names now.
Come on, man.
You think I'm kidding? but
Are
I'm
you done
telling
learning, man? So you got it all figured out? I mean, come on. Bugs Bunny was dressing in drag the whole time, and all of a sudden this is an issue.
Well, so was Rudy. You know what I mean? So was Rudy. So my contention is not with the life, and I don't think it's a choice in most cases. I think people are born that way. You know what I mean? However you are, you're born that way. Your parents tried really hard, Don, but however you turned out, that's mostly on Don.
I blame my
and
parents.
Rudy is mostly the man of his own making. Yeah, a lot of influences in the world, man, but we're all responsible for our own behaviors. But I'm just telling you, man, I understand the notion because I tell off-colored jokes. I walk across lines. I've been slapped plenty of times in my life. And I do it again. I earned those slaps. But I was funny. And
you think you were, maybe? Is Senator Hawley funny? Is Senator Johnson funny?
No.
Is Brian Kilmeade funny? Is 1 out of 5
but I have a
trans people
refined
attempting
sense of
suicide
humor.
funny? Those things aren't funny. And it's an acceptance of those things that makes it normalized. You hear them say they don't want to normalize it. They don't want to normalize gay marriage. They don't want any of that stuff to be normal. But it is. It just is. It may be at a smaller percentage than white heterosexual marriage in this country, but it is certainly part of the human condition.
Well, that I don't disagree with you. It's just the vocabulary I take big issue with. Come back. More Devil's Advocates.
In time, you will know the true power of Devil Radio 92.7. It is your destiny.
Dark Horse Art Bar is Madison's newest live music venue and art gallery on East Washington Avenue. Check out these upcoming events at the Dark Horse. Little Church is a splattering of art, pop, rock, soul, and gentle Eskimo kisses by a bear-shaped robot that can't control its voltage. Little Church with Mickey Sunshine, Sunday, July 24th. Dark Horse Art Bar and Gallery, 756 East Washington Avenue. Find them online at darkhorsemadison.com.
Over the past 30 years, Chad's Design Build has grown and improved how we do things, but we've never lost sight of our commitment to be a great place to work, focused on quality renovations for outstanding clients. Paying a living wage and providing excellent benefits to promote work-life balance does in fact attract outstanding people, which helps to explain our stellar reputation. Thank you, Madison, for 30 amazing years, building a better world one remodeled home at a time. This is Chad Spade for Chad's Design.
Inflation. I'm Tim McGuire with an AP News Minute. Consumer prices rose 9.1% in June compared with June of 2021. Republicans quick to blame President Biden. House Minority Whip Steve Scalise.
He's the one who raised these prices. He's the reason we have this record high inflation, and he won't reverse course.
Energy price increases account for just under half of that inflation. Gasoline up last month by 60%. Since then, the price has fallen some 40 cents a gallon. Federal Reserve expected to again raise its core interest rate by 0.75% when it meets later this month. Jack Ablin, the chief investment officer with Crescent Capital, says higher fuel costs are having an impact on other consumer choices.
When it comes to filling up your tank, there are very few alternatives. And so I think that we are going to see spending in other areas, discretionary areas, come down.
Inflation is surging across the globe in part because of Russia's invasion of Ukraine. I'm Tim McGuire.
We tried Dynovite for gut health and immune support, and after a couple of weeks, our little Gizmo was acting like a puppy again. His coat was shinier, he had a lot less scratching and shedding, and he seemed like his happy old self.
My dog smelled and scratched constantly. We bathed and sprayed her, took her to the vet, but no results. Now, a little Dynovite in her food helps Bella keep her beautiful coat with no scratching or smell.
Get 10% off your next order of Dynovite nutritional supplements for dogs at Dynovite.com. Happier, healthier with every bite. Over 1 million pets helped with Dynovite.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack, but not with ZipRecruiter. Its powerful technology actively finds and invites qualified candidates to apply to your job. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you the needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. Try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/.
From Up North News, I'm Pat Kreitlow. Got to spend some time at Farm Technology Days in Clark County, and it's nice to see people once again eager to visit the state's largest agricultural show, this year on a family farm south of Loyal. I've got a link to a little video about it in our newsletter. Governor Tony Evers says it's now more than 5,000 businesses that have been helped by an American Rescue Plan program that provides $10,000 grants for moving into previously vacant storefronts. And it's time for another edition of Ron Johnson Said What Now? As he tried to support a Senate colleague's transphobic comments and ended up saying, quote, "Women get pregnant and God bless them, we need to populate our earth." Very purpose-driven, such a business-centric thing to say. We have that story and more in our daily newsletter and on our social media feeds. Sign up for that newsletter at upnorthnewswi.com.
Save the $2 on tomorrow's paper. Listen to the Devil's Advocates today.
Welcome back to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show, the Happy Hour. Rolling to the phones next at 844-967-2789. I feel like I've got it coming. Let's see. Matt from Minneapolis. How you doing, Matt?
Hey, Matt.
Hey, DA, happy hour, dude.
Yeah, baby. Awesome, dude.
Yeah. Okay. I gotta tell you right away. When you played Iron Butterfly in the Gotta to Vida yesterday, I was just like, that's so effing groovy. Okay, I'm gonna get right to the point. Okay, I have a friend that I met roller skating through my daughter, and she is one of the top drag queens in Minneapolis, but she's transgender. Okay, and so she ended up marrying transgender woman to a man. I hope I'm explaining this right. And they had a baby 3 months ago. Are you with me?
So a woman had transitioned into a man had transitioned into a woman, and they effectively flipped the normal biological cycle and had a baby together.
Yes, sir. And she's like one of the top drag queens in Minneapolis. And I'm a musician, and I play with a lot of trans women, in bands and stuff. And so, that's where what I wanted to tell you. And it's like it's gonna happen whether anybody likes it or not. Unless I mean, it's the bottom line, dude. You know what I mean?
Yeah, Matt, really appreciate your call, and thank you for listening on AM 950. Unfortunately, you don't have a great phone line today, my friend. We're going to keep moving down the phones.
Yeah, it's going to happen. Unless, the right-wing, Christian nationalists can beat it out of everybody and make them all conform to whatever it is that their version of Christianity should be imposed upon everybody. But I think Matt is absolutely right. It's always been there. It's going to be there no matter what people say or what they want, or that's quote unquote normalized by the Republicans.
844-967-2789. Dick calling from Madison. How you doing, Dick?
Hey, Dick.
Good, guys. Real quick before I get to what I was going to talk about, if CJ should call, gas at Woodman's East is down to $3.89.
Woo!
Give a goddamn about Hunter Biden. I like to retract something I said to James Santel yesterday or the day before when he was on, and that how scary it was that we didn't have a president from the 18th of December 2020 until January 20th, 2021. And in thinking that out a little further, as obsessed as he was, Trump, with all of this staying in power, I guess it's really, and also the other thing, he was really angry and mad. Did you guys know that?
Trump?
And he was in a good mood on the 6th. I guess what I'm saying is, I'm glad that he wasn't, fulfilling his duty as a president for that month period. Could you imagine if he was paying attention even the slightest bit to what his real job was?
Well, Dick, we've got his historical track record. The Trump presidency was a lot of golfing and signing one tax cut into law and promises of a replacement for Obamacare any week now. That
coming in 2 weeks.
Infrastructure weeks next week, and we're gonna have the replacement plan for Obamacare the week after that. But it's kind of hard. It's hard. Yeah, Trump spent most of his presidency on a golf course. There wasn't a lot of governing going on. 844-967-2789. Mark from the SAC. Welcome back. What do you got?
Hey, Mark.
Yeah, hey guys, as I suggested before, people should actually read The Left Hand of Darkness by Le Guin. It talks about where people are actually, they're perfect neuters, where they could be male or female, depending on,
which book
father.
Which book that I'm not going to read, Mark, were you recommending?
The Left Hand of Darkness by Ursula K. Le Guin, and it's from back in the 60s that she actually wrote this, and it kind of makes you think about gender. It was the freshman college book that got assigned to us. That I'm surprised I hadn't read it prior to that. But it actually questions gender and the meaning of gender. That it makes you think about that.
Yeah.
That because I can remember even prior to that, back this is sixth grade. I got a book called The City of the Stars, and the people on planet Earth at that time they're still male and female, but because of that, you couldn't tell because everything, men's genitalia was kept inside, was supposedly safer, so you couldn't tell. People just looked like kind of everything. For men, it was all internal storage because
everybody looked like a Ken and Barbie doll.
Yeah, like Ken and Barbie doll. I mean, but. So things like that, my mind was kind of opened a little bit then and opened further when I read The Left Hand of Darkness. And for these people, yes, it's not normal for you or me to be transgendered. For the people who are going to be transgendered, going through the transition, it is normal for them.
Right.
And who are you or I to judge, what makes them feel comfortable in their own skin? I mean, that because, that sometimes our brain, that the way our biology works, and sometimes things do not match up in our heads. I mean,
Mark, I understand that. And I'm the one guilty of seeming close-minded here. What I would say is I have no objections to someone else's lifestyle. Dom, through the course of the years, you've started sort of as a libertarian that sort of turned into a birdie-crat and sort of a decent guy, but you're shifting back to libertarian now. But, somewhere along the line, you stretched my thought process. And I hope I've stretched yours at different times.
Mm-hmm.
I guess more my objection, and I've always taken this objection, when you tell me how I must say something. That's the issue. Now, I'm not talking about insightful language. You talked about calling a black man a boy. Never done such a thing. I've never used the N-word. I've never, I've certainly cast aspersions, but, you got to come in because, I might, if I'm looking for an aspersion to cast, let's say, I might pick on you for being short, Dom, or whatever. But it's not really about that. It's because I'm pissed at you, or I'm angry, right? And there have been times in this life where we've gone to bars and stuff, and people shush us, can't talk politics. Other people get to set what is acceptable conversation. And that's what I take great objection to. When I am told that this is the only acceptable way to talk. Well, I'm not being insightful. I'm not trying to be transphobic. I'm not Josh Hawley over here. But I don't understand the necessity of multiple pronouns. I struggle enough with the pronouns in the English language now. You know what I mean? And ultimately, when you tell me I must, well, I'm very resistant to that. I know you are as well.
Sure, and I think a lot of people are, and that's to some degree human nature. But again,
I'd like to think I've evolved through the course of time. I mean, I'm not on the playground throwing gay derogatory statements at my buddies anymore.
We're not in sixth grade anymore. Yeah. I was a big F maggot. You know what I'm saying? I mean,
because that was
but you're ignorant kids, and I hope to not be an ignorant kid. I make a purposeful effort to be a considerate adult. An adult in the room.
Well, with all the experimentation you did in college, Tom, you got to be considerate. You checked a lot of boxes.
Well, the big problem I have is when you have people in power, like Josh Hawley, a senator, like Ron Johnson, and Fox News, Kilmite. They got a lot of people listening to those shows, and they're lamenting the quote unquote normalization. But if you look back at history, hell, even recent history, Loving Virginia in the 60s, right? 66, 67, when it was finally mandated that states in this country didn't have the states' rights when it came down to allowing interracial people to marriage. We as a country have embraced the ignorance, and I think it's due time to drop that and to accept it. And if someone wants you to refer to you've already said if someone asks you, you'll do it. Well, that's the pronoun thing, man, right? That's what it is. They're just letting you know. They're just letting you know. They're making it easy for you, so you don't even have to think about it. You don't even have to guess. And yes, sometimes that means as adults we have to learn new things. I hope that never ends. And sometimes that means we need to drop old habits. Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. I know you mean respect when you say it, but if you say it to the wrong person, it is an insult. So how about just okay, sure, yes, period. You know what I'm saying? Is that so difficult to understand? Because now what you're doing, you're putting other people's feelings and context ahead of your own. It's easy for us to fall back on the habits that we've already done, always done. It's a little more work to get out of that habit. And it's okay to try that, man. It's okay. I'm giving you permission, crew.
Yeah, but that doesn't really work with my narcissism. 844-967-2789. Bob calling in from Minneapolis. Welcome, Bob.
Hey, Bob.
Hi, guys. Got a wrinkle on all this for you.
Okay.
Elliot Page. I have a massive crush on him. It started when he was a her.
The young actress that was in Juno before she transitioned.
Yes.
Very talented.
And now so I was sharing this with a friend who I haven't seen forever and ever. Don't know if she's still my friend after this. I don't know. But I was just sharing my confusion that, he gets to do what he wants, right? But when I'm looking at movie credits and when the movie was made, it was Ellen Page. And now there's this revisionist history. It's almost kind of like that butterfly or Mandela effect kind of crap, where it could be perceived as, like this gaslighting thing.
Now, has she asked for the credits of the prior movies to be changed? Like the movie Juno,
I don't know.
As he asked that it be revised. It was someone with a differing identity at that time. Once upon a time, it was John Cougar Mellencamp, and it was like John Cougar, right. And then it was John Mellencamp. Well, depending on, what year you're playing, what do you call
it? And if these changes are coming at Elliot Page's direction, okay, fine. But there's no notation about that or anything. And it's confusing for me. Not the fact that I still find this person immensely attractive. Now that she's a he, I'm okay with that. But it's like, well, no, that movie was made when this person was Ellen Page, and now it's usually Wikipedia. I don't know. I haven't watched one.
Well, most actors and actresses also have like an IMDb page where they're identified for their
IMDb.
their work.
Yeah, Bob. Let me ask you, what does it matter?
It's just confusing, is all. And I was just the matter part was that I was sharing this confusion with this long unseen friend, and she started to jump down my throat, and it's like, no. Elliot Page gets to do what Elliot Page wants to do.
So your friend was concerned that you were being, transphobic in some regard by expressing your thoughts. Is that the reaction that your friend? So. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And that's not. Yeah. So it's kind of like you can think whatever you want as long as it aligns with my outlook kind of thing. It's like, no, we try to be accepting of all outlooks, even CJ's,
Well, less so CJ. His mama called him Clay, I'm going to call him Clay. Bob, appreciate you listening on AM 950.
I appreciate that. And I think I do believe, I'm not any enlightened person on these matters and topics. I just kind of speak from the heart in these regards as I am a 51-year-old white man in this country. But I think there does need to be some room for people to grow and understand and seek knowledge and understanding of how other people want to be perceived. And so, Bob, I feel you, man, and hopefully your friend will help you along that process, and you're open to hearing what they have to say.
That, I guess, is all I was trying to express in some ways. We just can't slam the door in people's face, even if they're oafish, like me sometimes. I'm back, more devils.
Dad, I picked up your pills, made your lunch, and your laundry is done.
When you care for a loved one, you take care of everything. But are you taking care of yourself? Find free care guides at aarp.org/caregiving. Brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
Date night at the movies.
I got popcorn.
Shh. Sorry.
And some candy.
Getting back to the moments we miss
Josh.
starts with getting informed. Get the latest info about COVID-19 vaccines at getvaccineanswers.org. It's up to you. Brought to you by the Ad Council.
The Devil's Advocates.
But do you think the Biden administration's called up Laura Ingraham and making the announcement to the world that we're invading Russia with amphibious troops? Come on, Trump. I mean, and I want to hear fine Trumpsters that want to defend that crap. He's a little late for the early bird buffet. Maybe you people were just naive marks who believed he was a super genius. Then I got some land I'd like to sell you outside of Fukushima. Check out the entire podcast library at darnwi.com.
Hi there, I'm Kirk Bankstad, and I own the Monaco Brewing Company. And I also have a super PAC. We make good trouble in the North Woods of Wisconsin. You can support our efforts at the MonacoBrewingCompany.com and buy our woke gear like t-shirts, hoodies, and trucker hats. Enter the code RADIO and get 10% off on your next purchase. A portion of all sales support the Monaco Brewing Company Super PAC, which is dark money meant for good. That's the MonacoBrewingCompany.com.
Social media? You've kept up with the times. If you can do that, you can definitely save for retirement. Go to aceyourretirement.org, and in just 3 minutes, you'll get free tips to help boost your retirement savings. That's aceyourretirement.org. A message from AARP and the Ad Council.
Malarkey. The Devil's Advocates invented malarkey.
And we are back. Thank you for listening to the Devil's Advocates radio show, the last segment of the day. If you got something to say, hit us up right now. 844-967-2789. Evan, thank you for the Black Crows, one of the bands I saw at Summerfest this weekend. It's been a hell of a run, folks.
Dominic, kind of one last thought here. I'm surprised none of our female friends have called me to chastise me. Because Crudy's complaining about getting shushed a little bit, or perhaps getting chastised for using the incorrect vernacular. And women just lost the right to autonomy over their own bodies. The rolling back of Roe v. Wade's a lot bigger deal, perhaps, than Crudy's inconvenience, or feeling occasionally ashamed because I've used the wrong vocabulary. I got to tell you, if I was a woman right now, I'd be losing my freaking mind. I'd be out marching in the streets. And, I've raised great jackassery over lesser things than loss of a human right. And when you look at the rationale of why Roe v. Wade was overturned, and you carry that on to other cases like Obergefell, I believe that's the one that grants people the legal right to marry someone that is the same sex as them. Well, if that's also up for review, well, that's the bigger issue. You know what I mean? And I'm not here to tell people, well, of course, all these little things, they all add up to the society we live in. But there's some big freaking issues going on out there in this world. And I think sometimes these things become distractions. Whether or not a man can be impregnated and why this becomes a point of focus and a social wedge, and Josh Hawley gets to go raise money on it, and they get to say, we're too woke. Liberals trying to, and guys like Ron Johnson going, Brian Kilmeade, they also comment on it. I look at the circumstance of this 10-year-old girl, this woman that was raped.
Girl
that was raped. 10-year-old girl in Ohio was raped. She was raped when she was 9. At least a couple times. And the Attorney General of the state of Ohio, basically, the Republican Attorney General said, I don't believe her. I don't believe the story. I would know. I didn't see any reports of a young girl getting raped. Well, because of their fetal heartbeat rule, effectively, any cardiac movement in the fetal tissue, that's a person in the state of Ohio. So this girl who was impregnated through an act of rape, because you can't give consent at 9. You know what I'm saying? 27-year-old guy raped her, admitted, now in custody. But the Attorney General of the state of Ohio doubted the credibility of the story. Oh, it's just too convenient. Just too convenient. This case of rape, it's just too convenient. It makes the case too conveniently for the liberals. Why it's a big deal that Roe v. Wade has been overturned.
Yeah.
And why in many cases there are no exceptions for rape or incest. Or even the life of the mother in some cases. Well, turns out it was true. And this young girl had to travel to Indiana. And apparently the Attorney General of Ohio is now, lots and thoughts and prayers. It's a terrible shame, this girl. But you know what they're mostly excited about them? They found out the rapist was an illegal alien. And that allows them to, of course, batter Joe Biden and his open borders policy. So the fact that this young girl, under state law, would be forced to carry a rapist baby to term, raise the baby, at what, 11? 10 and a half? Under law, that's what she'd have to do. Well, that's a bigger deal, perhaps. I know we pick topics, we argue and stuff. That'd be a little bigger deal. If that was my daughter, or my granddaughter, or whatever the case may be, Dom, maybe that's a bigger deal than Crudy being inconvenienced. But that is what's being used to take our focus off what really matters. And I think what really matters are the rights of women and all people to marry or have control over their own bodies. You and I will always agree to that. And the January 6th, the coup attempt against the U.S. government, the coup attempt against democracy, the fact that each and every day, every J6 hearing, we're seeing it laid out in an evidentiary fashion by Republican witnesses.
Right.
There's not a single liberal that's been up there giving testimony. Every single one were Trump insiders, and they were in the rooms. And the former president tried to exact a coup, and he tried to use a mob as one of the tools, but he had lots of tools. Those are the two big issues in our society. And, I keep hearing it's going to be a red wave, pushback against the wokeness and the Black Lives Matter and the policies of Joe Biden that are creating rampant inflation, trying to give people $1,400 during a pandemic. How dare he? I cannot imagine the gravity of those issues being more important to 51% of the voters in this nation who have lost control over their own bodies. You know what I mean? I can't imagine that's more important. And I realize there are still some people out there, minimizing what happened on January 6th, right? No big deal. Don't even watch the January 6th. Better stuff here on Fox. I wonder if Fox will play the next one live.
Mm-hmm.
Right? The ratings, they've been pretty good. Lots of people paying attention. But I'm not clear if we understand the state of emergency our nation is in at this moment. And, if we get distracted, if we, argue a lesser point, it's important to someone. I guarantee it's an important point to someone.
Well, let me just reiterate something. It's a matter of do you want to accept a society that forces their views upon you, or do you want to live your own life in peace without forcing your views upon them? I mean, I have my opinions on these things. I'm not saying to anybody this is how you got to live your life, but you don't give a damn. A lot of Republicans are telling me and you and everybody how they have to live their life. So they're related in the underlying philosophy. And I know you hate to hear me say it, Crudy, but it's fundamentally the white Christian nationalists. That is the underlying theme. That is their motivation.
God's will.
It is their religion. It is their cult. It is their mythology.
We talked to Wisco. Wisco, Paul.
Not yet.
Welcome. What do you got for us?
Hey, Paul.
Yeah, I'll make this quick here, Devil. Good show today. Rojo has raised south of $10 million, which is quite a bit of money to what I'm going to say here is he's dug himself a pretty deep hole with women, basically saying that you're for having kids, giving birth.
He's all for breeding.
Right? That's all he... So how does he dig himself out? I can't imagine this guy getting reelected, even with $10 million. And I don't know how much money he's going to get out of this, but
set the money aside for a minute, Paul. I mean, the money is going to be obscene here in the state of Wisconsin. We're going to see a $100 million elective race between now and November. There's already been over $20 million spent in the state of Wisconsin between the gubernatorial race and the U.S. Senate race. And as soon as, let's say, Tony Evers has an opponent, and as soon as Ron Johnson has an opponent, all the spigots are going to get turned on, Paul. This state's going to be filthy with campaign ads. And they're both considered vulnerable incumbents. But I cannot believe that we're not moving towards a blue wave.
Ooh.
You heard it here first. Devil's Advocates Radio Show, thanks for listening. We'll do it again live. Tomorrow we're doing it live, just like you like it.
Hi, I'm a pleasant voice reminding you to enable Devil Radio before playing Devil Radio.